Good morning, children. Hope you all are doing your homework nicely, learning your lessons. Now, today in this video, children, we are going to do lesson 2. Okay, that is Pit Meets a Convict. Pit Meets a Convict is a small part of the novel Great Expectations, written by Charles Dickens. Children, it is a very interesting story. Okay, when we will learn, when just now when we will do the reading, you will come to know very interesting one. And this Pit Meets a Convict. In this story, there are two characters. One is Pip and the other is Convict. Pip's full name is Pirip Philip and Convict is an escaped prisoner. Okay, now let's read the story. Let's read the story. Lesson 2, Pip Meets a Convict. My father's family name is Pirip and my first name Philip. But as a child, I couldn't say either. So I called myself Pip, and then so did everyone else. I say that my name is Pirip because that's what is written on my father's tombstone. And it is what my sister told me. My sister is married to the blacksmith. We lived in a marshy area down by the river, a few miles from the sea. One day I stood in the churchyard and looked over my parents' tombstone at the dark, flat wilderness beyond the churchyard. The marshes were crisscrossed with ditches and mounds. In the distance, I could see the grey line of the river and then far away the sea. It was a cold day. Here, in this lesson, Pip himself is narrating the story and he's saying that my father's family name was Pirip and my first name is Philip. He's trying to say this that his name was Philip Pirip. But though it was little difficult for him because he was a very small child, it was difficult for him to pronounce. So he called himself Pip, and then everybody started calling him by this name only. And he's saying that how did he come to know that his family's name is the Singh Pirip? Because it was written on his father's tombstone. And this thing her sister had also told him that his family's name is Pirip. He's saying that my sister is married to the blacksmith. His brother-in-law is a blacksmith. Blacksmith means, children, a person who makes tools out of metals. Now he's saying where he lived. He lived in a marshy area down by the river. He's saying that he lived in a marshy area. Marshy area means an area which is always wet or waterlogged. So, and it was down the river. Down the river, and it was little, this thing, few miles from the sea. The Pip said that one day I stood in the churchyard. One day he went to the graveyard. Churchyard means graveyard. And he was sitting near to see his parents' tombstone. This is the tombstone. See? Yeah, this is a tombstone. This is a tombstone. So what happened? One day he went there, and he's saying that beyond the churchyard, it was wilderness. Wilderness means an uncultivated land, a barren area. Okay, and he said that beyond that there was wilderness. The marshes were crisscrossed with ditches and mounds. In the distance, I could see the grey line of the river and then far away the sea. He's saying that beyond that churchyard there was barren land, and this ditches means a long narrow open hole that is dug into the ground. Okay, children, mounds means small hills. See, he's saying that beyond that there was barren land, that ditches were there, small hills were there, and a gray line of river was there, and after that there was a far away there was sea. And that day was very cold day. It was winter season, and the day was very cold. The grey land and the grey sky made me feel sad. I suddenly realized that I was an orphan and I began to cry. Hold your noise, cried a terrible voice. It came from a man who had just stepped out from behind a gravestone. Keep still, or I'll cut your throat. Now, what happened? The Pip is saying the grey land and the grey sky made me feel sad. Why he's saying grey sky? Because it was hazy. The sky was there was sunlight was very low, understood, and it was very gloomy day, and that is why he's saying that it was hazy, because the sky, when it is hazy, children, then the sky appears gray. That is why he's saying the sky was gray, and he was feeling very sad that day. He was remembering his parents very badly, and that day he's saying that I realized that I was an orphan. Or what is the meaning of orphan? A child whose parents are dead. So he was feeling very sad and he was remembering his parents very badly. Okay. Then he said suddenly, and I because he was missing his parents so badly that he started crying. When he was crying, suddenly a terrible voice, he heard a terrible voice. What did the voice say? Hold your noise. The voice said, कि to hold your, शांत हो जाओ, hold your noise. And it came from a man who had just stepped out from behind a gravestone. Keep still or I will cut your throat. And that man, suddenly he saw a man jumped out, came out from behind the tombstone, and he said that keep still. He said keep still or I will, शांत हो जाओ, hold your voice or I will cut your throat. And so he threatened he threatened the boy. That man, that terrific man, that frightening man, that man was very frightening. And he told him that to keep still or he will cut his throat. The man was frightening. He was dressed in rough grey clothes and he had a big iron chain on his leg. He was an escaped convict. His shoes were broken and he had an old rag tied round his head. He was dirty from being soaked in the muddy water from the ditches. He was covered in scratches from nettles and stones. He limped and shivered and glared and growled. Now here the Pip is saying about the appearance, about his dress, about that frightening man's dress. He's saying that his appearance was very horrific, very frightening. He was scared when he saw that man, and his dress was rough grey color. And the very big and another thing which he saw, that man had a iron chain on his leg. He was an escaped, he had, and it seemed that he was an escaped convict, मतलब जेल से भागा हुआ कोई कैदी लग रहा था उसे, ठीक है. And his shoes were broken and an old rag, he had tied an old rag, means एक पुराना कपड़ा जो है, फटा हुआ कपड़ा, rag means फटा हुआ कपड़ा कोई, he had tied round his neck. And one more thing, that his dress, what he was wearing, was soaked with muddy water from the ditches, and also he's saying that they were all over his body and his clothes, where there were scratches from nettles and stone. Children, nettles are plants with sharp hairs on them. Okay, जो उस पे नेटल्स, जो एक प्लांट होता है जिस पे छोटे छोटे हेयर्स होते हैं, बट दोज हेयर्स आर वेरी शार्प. And he limped, and he's saying he was not walking properly. Okay, he was limping and shivering because his clothes were soaked with muddy water. पूरा कपड़ा उसका भीगा हुआ था, and that was cold day, so he was shivering and glared and growled, and he was glaring at him. मतलब glad means to look in anger. He was looking at him in anger and growling at him. Okay, now, and after that he he had forcibly hold he sorry he has forcibly held him and was saying that, keep still or I will cut your throat. He said that you please keep quiet just now, hold your voice, otherwise I will, cut your throat. Now, in the next video, we will read the other part of this story. Okay? Thank you.